Standing on the start line for everyone to see, thinking it's about time to show what I believe. I'll find a way to win the race. Forget about the stoplight, no time.
Yes, welcome into The Form, where we preview our best races for the weekend with our best analysts. And of course, we do head to Hawke's Bay for the second day of the Spring Carnival. We've got Riccarton to look forward to as well. And joining us once again on The Form in studio with me is Leith Innes. And you must be looking forward to getting back to Hastings on Saturday.
Yeah, it's going to be good, Pip. Would like to see the sun come out and get a good track, but it doesn't look like it's going to be anything better than a heavy 9.
Yeah, not the ideal spring track that we wanted. And joining you on track will be Bevan Sweeney. Down south covering the Riccarton meeting will be Aidan Rodley. We'll start with you, Bevan. Looking forward to Saturday's racing. And look, we've got a full field for the middle day.
Yeah, morning Pippa and morning Tim. I agree with Leith. The weather is the bugbear, heavy 9 at the moment. Rain forecast Friday and quite a bit of rain forecast Saturday. So that has their implications that we'll work through later on in the form, but it'll be great to be back on course for the Group 1 day.
And Aidan Rodley, you'll be looking forward to the action out of Hawke's Bay, but also Riccarton too. We've got a really nice meeting, including that Guineas trial.
Yeah, the Guineas trials are all important. That was a race where we saw Fields of Gold beat Novare last year. And so it is a proven pathway to Group 1 success in a 2000 Guineas and a really nice field. Mark Walker with a couple of good runners, and we saw the runner-up in the Canterbury Bell Stakes really savaging the line. She'll be a contender as well.
Absolutely, and we'll be diving more into that very shortly. Let's have a look what is coming up on the form, and we'll be starting, yes, with our preview out of Hastings. It's the Arrowfield Plate, our Racetrackers, horses and greyhounds to follow throughout the weekend, and further the preview out of Riccarton, preview of Hawke's Bay Guineas, the Epsom Day preview with James McDonald joining us on the form, and our best bets to round out the weekend. Time for the form feature of the weekend, and yes, it is the Group 1 Arrowfield Plate out of Hawke's Bay. We'll bring back in the whole team to preview the race, and we'll start with you, Bevan Sweeney, because you've got the latest from the track manager there out of Hastings, Richard Fenwick.
Yeah, look, the track is in the heavy 9 position, but the water table's so high in the bay at the present moment that any rain coming over the next couple of days will have it back at that heavy 10 state, and there is rain forecast Friday and Saturday, and more importantly Saturday there is supposed to be a fair amount of rain. So whatever happens, we will be on a heavy track, and we'll have a look at that Saturday morning to see exactly what state that is in with Leith.
And despite the weather and track conditions that we may get, we've got a full field. So let's have a look at the market. It is headed by La Creek. She's at $2.40. Mustang Valley at 3.5 on that second line of betting. And then Spring Tide, of course, runner-up in the Tarzino, heads once again to the middle day at 7.5 in that third line of betting. Leith, it is a mile start. Let's start with you. What's it like there to start from the mile? Is it tricky? What draws are better than others?
Yeah, it's a pretty hard start, especially not so much on the Saturday when it's going to be a heavy track, but when it's firm, if you draw on the inside and you're slow away, next thing you're back second or third last, and the outside horses really get a bit of a roll on from the first 200 metres there, and they can cross you pretty quick.
And as a mile start, let's have a look at the speed in the race. So, look, Helena Baby, you mapped to get forward in the Tarzino. It didn't happen. Can you see him doing it this time?
Yeah, I think he just switched off when he was in behind them in his last start. So I think they'll have to be really positive because his best runs have been when he's up there outside the leader.
Bevan Sweeney, having a look here at Leith's speed map. Do you agree, or can you see anything else maybe that you have an opinion where it will be?
Just a couple of question marks. I thought Helena Baby, they'll really push this time, so I'd swap maybe that and White Noise around, but that makes no major difference around the tempo. In Spring Tide, I think it'll be behind Harlech in my speed map, but I could see it finding that spot that Leith has got it there as well. But with Helena Baby, White Noise, Deerfield, Tiptronic in the race, then I think there'll be enough speed in it over the 1600 metres. Pip?
Well, let's take you back to the first day because the Tarzino does have plenty of form leading into the Arrowfield. We've got lots of horses backing up, and Leith, will start with you. Let's take a look at the replay. La Creek, what did you make of her run?
Yeah, it was super. She was probably the unlucky runner in the race. Look, she received a check at the wrong time when she was rolling forward, and Craig had to elected to come back to the inside. And look, she hit the line like a good mare that she is.
I think the one thing out of this, I don't think demonetisation first and foremost to be ridden so positively as it was on this occasion. You're right around La Creek, Leith. She'll get a different spot on Saturday, and that should have her peering into the race Look, I thought the punters reacted nicely around Spring Tide. I thought that was the price in the race when you watch this performance back and you take Duck, Storer and Imperatriz out of this particular race. He was up at $9. I thought that was a really good price. And Green Luck was sectionally aided really good late and might be an interesting runner into the last day.
Yeah, absolutely, and steps up to their 1,600 metres, was the quickest last 200 of that race. So eye-catching late, does need to step up again. Just interesting to know how that form correlates to what we're going to see on Saturday. It was a really tricky track, and maybe with the rain on Friday and Saturday, just might loosen it up, and it just might be a different type of heavy, and that's just the real query around this weekend's conditions as much as anything, I think.
Well, a runner not coming out of the Tarzino, but she did race on the same day, Mustang Valley for Andrew Forsman, and then she backed that win up Bevan Sweeney with that nice win in Awapuni, so she's stamping her place deservedly as second favourite.
Well, she went into this race with the sectionals out of day one at the Bay that said she'd be winning this race, and those sectionals say to me that she's right up to running in the Group 1 on Saturday. I love that really unique action where she throws that lead leg when you see her front on, but might have got there a little bit soon here, but she still put them away by a big margin and beat a tough horse in Deerfield. So she's shown she's good enough to be there. I thought the price was maybe a little bit short leaf, but look, you've picked her out early in the season and she's really lived up to it.
Yeah, she won really well this day, and obviously she's backing up 3 weeks in a row, but Andrew Forsman, he's going well, so he's not going to line her up without a winning chance in the Group 1 race, I think.
Look, they both won over the 1,400 metres, the Tarzino was, and her winning at Hastings. So let's have a look at the sectionals to compare them both, the Tarzino and Mustang Valley's race. And look, it does show that her last 800, her last 600 metres, Leith, were actually quicker than the likes of La Creek and Springtide. Yeah,
exactly, Pip, and obviously they may have gone out a little bit slower the first 600 of that race as well, but like her sectionals were really good for her. She was out by 6 and 5 lengths by herself, so she's done it pretty easy.
I think the impact of the video we're about to show you is to prove to you all that she's going to take the step up on Saturday. I suppose my question in my mind is she seemed to fly through these track conditions when many of the horses maybe in the Group 1 weren't quite getting away with it. But look, the times, Aidan, and your great times and measures man says to all of us that she's right up to it, and she's backed that up winning on Saturday at Awapuni.
It's compelling. This is really compelling stuff. You know, she's done it a couple of lengths faster, and she's gone on to win again since. She's on the way up. She's doing everything right for a filly who was beaten in a rating 65 at Te Rapa only a couple of starts back. She just seems to be an emerging talent. We've seen what she's capable of last season, but when we saw her matched up against La Creek, would you have thought that she was, you know, capable of being, you know, competitive against her in a Group 1 weight for age race so early in the season? And I've got to say, it surprises me that that she's there so quickly. But on what we've seen from that video, it's really compelling.
It is, and let's have a look what her trainer Andrew Forsman had to say about her. And of course, we did catch up with Katrina Alexander as well.
Owen just said she's a lot calmer after this gallop today than what she was going into the first day, and that's a good indicator that she's sort of plateauing nicely, and her level of freshness and her fitness is sort of levelling out there. So yeah, so I'm actually really happy to see that from her, very settled afterwards and after nice work. Yep.
Yeah, so confidence in the horse, but maybe not so much in conditions. So what lets her play on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy. I'd be happy with a heavy 8. I just don't want her to get into that heavy 10 range again. Although it could be, I don't know. We haven't tried her on a really wet, loose track. I was kind of hoping that might have happened last weekend, to be honest. That did actually properly rain before that run. Yeah, so it's just really hard. Having not ever wanted to do that to her before. Last time round, like if she'd had a clean run in that race and uninterrupted, I thought it was very brave how she picked herself up on that type of going. So it's not that she doesn't handle it, it's just that we don't particularly want to do it to her. So yeah, and it will be up to the last minute deciding whether we run or not.
One thing about her, she seems to handle a wet track. She goes well at Hastings, and she's in terrific form at the moment.
Yeah, she is, and I think that the track is the key. You know, if it wasn't going to be a heavy track, we probably wouldn't consider it. She's in great form, and we don't want to ruin that. We're mindful, but if we get conditions to suit and you can win a Group 1, it's worth going.
Crazy to think that, only a couple of weeks ago she's a one-win horse, and now she's second favourite in a Group 1 weight for age.
Yeah, she's running in 65 grade a few starts ago. So, no, it's not a normal situation, but I'm glad it's worked out this way.
And she has a very big chance too with that rain-affected track. So, Leith, where are you heading? Are you with one of the favourites or an outside chance?
No, I'm definitely with the favourite. I think if Lacrete runs, I think she'll be winning this race. Obviously, there's a question mark on the heavy track, but going out of her last run into Zeno, I just think she's going to be peaking second up, and I can't see her really getting rolled.
What about you, Bevan? Are you with the favourite Lacrete as well?
Well, it's hard to get away with her with the spots you'll find in the race compared to what she did on day number 1. Mustang Valley's in the mix. I think the forgotten horse in the race is Harley, who's second up 1,600 metres, been really competitive in the Spring Carnival Pro, and you can get around 3:30 top 4 around Harley. So I thought he was a bit of an each-way play, but La Creek, if she gets the right run on what she did day number 1, she'll be tough to beat.
What about you, Aidan? Tell me you're going somewhere different, or are we all with Lacrete here on the form?
Pretty much. I've watched her do a lot of track work in recent weeks, and she's just so willing every time. So she's hard to beat. Mustang Valley's form is very good, though. Around Bevan and Harlequin, I wouldn't be ruling out Defibrillate. His work on Tuesday was first class. He's got a very good record fresh, and his record in Australia says he's a top-class horse, and he's unbeaten in slow and heavy going. So I wouldn't be ruling him out with Opie Boston on.
And it'll all get underway. Tiabi Trackside 1, Saturday, 3:49, race 7. Do not miss it. You're watching the 4 minutes time for Racetrackers, our horses and dogs to follow throughout the weekend and even further. And we'll start with you, Bevan Sweeney. What have you found for us this week?
I'm going to take you back to day number 1 at the Bay, and a horse for Josh Shaw called Faraglione, and I thought it was one of the most unlucky runners on the day. Just got lost as they quickened before the corner, but you'll see the horse there in a pretty tight spot under Vinny, and was caught in a pretty tight spot for the entire run home. It'll try and get across heels. It's held up. The winner's coming home out wide. It looked to be really trucking in behind, but the winner's gone right on by out wide, and Belly Like It in the centre's gone okay, but I thought this was the run of the race. Watch it when it finally gets clear, this horse. It really does hit the line now. It's drawn in the car park on Saturday. I'm taking a bit of a bet that maybe the inside part of the track might be a little bit difficult by this time of the day. It will be race number 6 on the program, but look, it deserves one. It's got a fair bit of ability for Josh Shaw, and expecting it to go close on Saturday.
Mine, Bevan, I'm going to take you to the Ashburton Trials from last Tuesday for a horse who still holds a nomination for the Group 1 Albasti Equiworld New Zealand 2,000 Guineas. The horse comes widest on the track. Look for the horse in the white blaze here. Had been around about 7th in running 3 wide. Comes up wide on the track. Only had 3 starts as a 2-year-old. Ran second in the first of those and ran really well in a couple of good 2-year-old races after that. Just looms up. This is a really nice trial for a horse who will resume at Timaru. That'll be next week in a maiden 3-year-old 1,200 metre race. So Brian Court really happy with the way the horse has progressed. He got a great report from Jason Laking off the back of that trial, and will be very hard to beat at Farlap Raceway, and maybe on towards a 2,000 Guineas target, although that's probably not necessarily going to come up in time. But
very impressive. I'll be putting that one down in the Racetracker, Aidan, and I'm taking you back to a greyhound, Hometown Hero. I think this dog's on a New Zealand Cup campaign, and I think he'll be well worth following too. This is him having his first look at a 2-turn track. Headed up to Monaco on Sunday for Lisa Cole. His name, Hometown Hero. He puts pay to a very nice field. He's unbeaten in New Zealand. He'll go around Friday evening at Palmerston North, and he finds himself in a 457 metre field. Toughest test to date, up against dogs like Big Time Ripper. I think you'll get a price around him. I'd be following him. He's got a wide runner to his outside, and I think he'll find his way down at November down at Christchurch Raceway, and you might get a nice price around him in the futures. Hometown Hero. Note him down. Very nice greyhound, now joining Lisa Cole's kennel. And here are our racetracks for the summary for you. Note them down, put them in the black book, because you might just find you've got a runner like Mustang Valley heading to a Group 1 a couple of weeks later. You're watching the 4 minutes time for our Riccarton preview. We'll head to you, Aidan Rodley. What weather and track conditions are we looking at on Saturday?
It's come up a good 4 at the moment, Pip, as we lead into the meeting, but there is some rain forecast. They've put on 24 mil of irrigation over the last 7 days. Wouldn't Hastings be loving to be in that sort of situation? But looks nigh on perfect conditions for what is a really nice meeting out of Riccarton.
Let's have a look at one of the features on the program. It is the Inglewood Stud Guineas Trial, race number 5, option 605 Cognito for Mark Walker at 2.7, perfectly suited at 3.8 on that second line of betting, and Marlborough Bay at $4.80. Aidan, one of the first runners you want to highlight is from Mark Walker's stable Cognito, and this was a nice performance in behind the highly regarded Sharp and Smart.
Absolutely. Goes up and has a look at Sharp and Smart. But Sharp and Smart obviously heading towards races such as the Gloaming Stakes, the Spring Champion Stakes, the Victorian Derby coming up. He's a very good horse, and he just lifted when Cognito came upside. Before that, Cognito had won really nicely at Taupō and beaten home Arrowfield, who's a race rival in this race as well. There wasn't much between them that day, just a length, and Arrowfield has gone on to run a really good 5th placing in the Gold Trail Stakes, reeling off the second quickest last 600 and 200 of that race. But when you're pushing a horse as good as Sharp and Smart, I think it says a lot about Cognito and looks a leading chance here. We're going to continue through them and have a look now towards the Canterbury Bell Stakes. Now look at the horse there, perfectly suited in the Kevin Hickman colours with the quartered cap. This is very big. Rhonda Wood goes up and hits the front at this point. Now, it was a race that's favoured the swoopers. Now, all of those horses, that's the one kiss who's come outside Rhonda Wood at that point, was a very good run. But perfectly suited, just held up at the 300, gets through the gap now under Sam Wynn, and then really attacks the line strongly. It was a terrific run for a 3-year-old filly. Now has to take on the boys in what is a different race again. But her run was very good, reeled off all the quickest sectionals in that race as well. Next horse we're going to have a look at here, and we go and have a look at Marlborough Bay. And this horse running 3rd, fresh up again, a horse who's reeled off the quickest last 800, 600, 400, 200. The 4th horse in this race is Specialty, who's gone on to win at Wingatui next up. And you go back into the run at Taupō resuming as well, when second and behind Fellini. The 3rd horse home there was the Group 3 Matamata Slipper winner in Alabama Gold. So the form looks okay. Obviously a really nice win from Redmond this day. Grayson Gray, I think, had a little bit of a temperature and just set the preparation back. But Marlborough Bay, pretty good in running 3rd in that race. So a couple of key runners there for Mark Walker with a decent hand in the race. I actually landed on Cognito just ahead of Perfectly Suited. I thought if that race had been run a little bit more evenly, we might have found out just how good Perfectly Suited was, but the run's really good, and I think they are the 2 key chances in the race. Leith, did you have a thought on the Guineas trial and who might be the horse to beat?
Yeah, it's going to be really good to watch Cognito run on a good 4, and especially over 1400. He looks like he's got a bit of class on his hand, and look, it's going to be a good race to get a sort of a judge where they are going forward to the 1,000 and 2,000 guineas.
Early start for Riccarton, 11:30 with the 10-race program. Make sure you're tuning into the Punters Lounge to get all the up-to-date information nice and early at 10:30 a.m. Time to preview the Group 2 Hawke's Bay Guineas, and what a field we have assembled as well. We'll take a look at the full field market for you. Dynastic, he was brilliant on the first day. He's your favourite at 2.7. Bestseller, as was she, at $3. Next best, Pierre, 6.5, and then she's dominant at $9. Let's have a look at the all-important speed map, because Dynastic has come up with an outside barrier. He's drawn the 11. Bestseller's drawn the 3. Leith, you've done up the speed map. Obviously, that's where you see them sitting.
Yeah, it's a pretty tricky race to sort of find out where the map's going to be. But obviously, New Orleans Jazz will lead. And I think Opie he would have no choice but to go forward. I just find he would get cover somewhere, I think, from the draw. Pierre will be just on his back. And Sam Spratt will be sort of, Bestseller should be sort of midfield, just sitting there, just relaxed like she was last time.
They're very tricky, especially with track conditions. So let's have a look what happened the first day, and we'll start with Dynastic. He takes out the first race that we want to highlight here, and Pierre, guys, was really nice in second.
Yeah, he really was good on this occasion, because we will see later on that he was working 3 wide for the trip. I don't think Pierre can turn the tables. I don't think Duncan Creek can turn the tables. Soterio sectionally was very, very good on the clock and absolutely blew the start, but we'll have to do much better than that. But as we said a couple of times, Leith, he looked the best horse in the race and he duly won.
Yeah, there was always that question mark onto a heavy track, but look, he was strong through the line as well.
One that was really strong through the line is Bestseller. She goes from the 1200 metres, her South Leith, up to the 1400. Let's have a look at her as well. Both of her wins so far to date have come off the back. You're mapping her to do so again on Saturday.
Yeah, I think John Barry's already said, he doesn't want to change the plan even though she's got a better draw this time. She races in her own pattern, which is sort of just behind midfield, and she releases a really good last 400 metre sprint.
This is the great thing about racing. Dynastic is this beast, this big bull. And then we've got Bestseller, who's a lot finer and not quite so big, or nowhere near as big as him, but she can fly. Dynastic did more work in the race early and ran, I think, about a second quicker for the first 400 metres. She's got home a little bit quicker. I think the runs, Aidan, are very, very similar when you weigh all those factors up. He's massive, she's a slight, she's going forward, he's returned well. Going to be some battle.
Yeah, she was so good in the Gold Trail, wasn't she, Bestseller? And she seems to be going from strength to strength. John Barry loves winning these races on his home track, and he's got a really nice filly now going forward. Obviously, she handles a wet track as well. This is interesting, isn't it? Just to see just where they've come from and what they're doing. He had done a bit of work, Dynastic, hadn't he? But this is him on a wet track. We've seen what he's done on a dry track in a Kanaka Million and those type of races. He's returned in super form, and I think he's the horse to beat again.
I'm not sure he handled the ground, Dynastic. He still looks a little bit unbalanced and sort of testing himself in that sort of ground, but he just toughed it out. I think she probably handled the ground a little bit better than him, but he was so tough. She's so talented. She'll be behind him, you'd imagine, a couple of spots, and whether she can fly past him, I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think there's a lot in this particular race, as that picture does show you.
That's exactly what we're seeing from the Mustang Valley. It's compelling towards Dynastic. Now, yes, Bestseller gets 1.5 kilograms off, but on what we've seen there, that's, she's got still another 4 or 5 lengths to turn around on him. The only thing is, though, he's got that tricky barrier draw of 11. If he gets cover like Leith's saying, then all well and good, but it's not easy from out there again on what, again, will be testing track conditions.
And the thing there, A-Rod, is that if the riders let Opie get cover, then they're not really doing their job. He should be posted out there 3 wide from that draw if he's going to go forward.
Well, it's not a 2-horse race, even though we are thinking that these two are going to be fighting it out. Let's take a look at some other form heading into the race. Wanganui Guineas, and she's dominant. Bevan Sweeney was just that for a favourable ret.
Well, if it rains, and the forecast is for rain, she's pretty talented. She's dominant. If you went back to her first 2 runs as a 2-year-old, there was a bit of rider mistake on one of those and got in a lot of trouble, and the other one was a really good performance. Went to this Wanganui Guineas on a tough testing track condition, and they never really got in contention with She's Dominant. She was very, very good to the line. She's not overly big. She's only a little filly. She'll, for me, get up outside the lead, and if she gets them off the bridle, she's half a chance in this year's Guineas.
One thing out of that race is Accidental Tourist, and we saw this horse work alongside Dynastic on Tuesday. His work was just as good as Dynastic's. He looks to be a real improver. Better track conditions, or will they be? I'm not too sure. He's got to be some sort of contender in that race, Accidental Tourist. And what we saw on Tuesday, the track work alongside Dynastic was very good indeed. Next to the videos, we're going to have a look at his Battlestown, horse. He just got back, got the start all wrong at Matamata last time out. Now this was a fast run race early, and obviously the leaders did get tired, but he was out wide on the track and hit the line really strongly. Leith, just give me your take on this race, because especially late, he's been very good.
Yeah, he was really super. His trials were only fair. Look, he was a big price on the tote this day when he won, but look, I know it was a home track, but if there is, going to be an upset, I wouldn't leave him out anyway.
Well, it's time for selections now, and it's a fantastic field. So we'll start with you, Bevan. Who are you leaning towards?
Look, I'm going to go with Dynastic, but I think there is very little between Dynastic and Bestseller. You can probably back them both and make a profit on the day. I think She's Dominant. We'll get across the outside lead, so I think she might be a little bit of each way in the race.
I'm with Dynastic. Just the one question is there improvement in Pierre, who I thought was probably the danger, but Dynastic for me.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Pierre. Look, he was only having his second start the other day when he ran second to Dynastic. He's had a look around Hawke's Bay. He actually looked like he got through the heavy track better than Dynastic. So if there was, there's not much between the 3 favourites, but I think I'd have him on top.
And however you like, make sure you tune in to Tabby Trackside 1 nice and early, 10:30am for the Punters Lounge. We'll join the boys on track nice and early to get a good update for you. You're watching The Form and it's time to preview Epsom Day. Yes, 3 Group 1s out of Royal Randwick on Saturday, and we're joined on the phone by the one and only James McDonald. James, firstly, thank you for joining The Form. You've got cracking rides on Saturday. What can you tell us about track conditions? We saw an improved one last weekend. What are we expecting on Saturday?
Hi guys, it's raining now, so it's going to be probably in the heavy range, and obviously Randwick's hasn't been favourable with the weather because it's just been heavy each and every week when we are racing at Randwick. So the track's very tired. It's very chopped up at times. So I would suggest that with any rain forecast, I think we're going to get 30 mil from here to Saturday, which will put it well into the heavy range, I would have thought.
Hey, going into the Epsom, mate, you'd be pretty happy to be on ice bar if you've only ridden it once before. But heavier the better for her, it looks as well.
Yeah, for sure. She's going terrific this preparation. Obviously, she's a very consistent galloper at the highest level, and he's done a really good job with her, Brad. But I think from what I gather from Brad, this has been her best prep so far. In terms, he's been so happy with her at home, and she's been consistent around the Animos of the world, and Zaki. So I'd expect her at a winnable weight of 54.5 to be right in the finish, and especially being a small field as well. Epsom, 11 runners from the Randwick Miles, pretty enticing for her, and she should get every chance. Obviously, she needs a little bit of luck from back in the field, but she's going well.
James Aidan Rodley here. Obviously great to have one of the world's best jockeys on The Form, and great to have you on the show as well, James. Just tell us about the Metropolitan, the Don DeVee. What can we expect, and what doesn't look like a vintage field?
Yeah, no, absolutely, Aidan. I think, especially with all the races around at the moment with Melbourne and in Sydney with the great prize money, that all the horses, they can split themselves up, and I think we see a Metropolitan, obviously not strong, but it's a good handicap race. Again, the weights went up here. Le Don Venise, I'm really happy with this pickup ride. Obviously, I haven't ridden him, but he was really dominant in the winter in the sunny coast where he carried a big weight. He dropped weight here for this race, and heavier the better conditions. So I think he's a huge hope in this race. Obviously, we've got to beat the favourite who I've been winning on at the moment, but I think he wants dry ground, and so it opens the field up with this heavy track.
Trying to pick you up another Group 1 winning ride on Saturday, James, is Zugotcha in the Dali Flight Stakes. Just firstly, what did you make of her T-Rose run? Looked like you had to really lift her over the line.
Yeah, she's a little queen of a filly. She hasn't put a foot wrong. She worked terrifically well on Tuesday morning. She's another one that can adapt on soft ground, so she looks really well placed. Obviously, Fireburn's going to be awfully hard to beat, but at least my filly, she gives her all, and she's got a lovely barrier, so she'll be parking not far off the speed, and she'll give herself every chance. She fights like a caged lion, and I think that's what she showed last start, where she was out on her feet, and she's ended up winning by half a length. So, terrific run and a terrific ride in the even sort of flight stakes.
You've got well-supported rides all throughout the day. Going to put you on the spot. If you had to pinpoint one, what would be your best ride for the day?
I really like Bacchanalio in the last. I think he's jogging on the spot to win. He was terrific first up after having no luck, so I reckon he can rectify that and come away with a win on there on Saturday.
Yeah, mate. Hey, just going back to Animo, obviously he was awesome last start, and he looked like he sort of pulled up and he's trotted back a little bit sort of sore. But have you been on his back again since his last run?
No, I haven't. I don't know what it was there, Leaf. It was real bizarre because he was significantly low. Well, he wasn't. He was just mildly lame coming back, and enough for me to notice anyway. And I from all the reports from Godolphin at the stable, they've done every test possible, every scan, everything possible to rectify it, and he hasn't shown a lameness at all. ever since that day. So, and they couldn't find a thing. So I just wonder if he's just on pull up, just banged themselves and just felt a little bit touchy there on the off ball. So I don't know. He's all guns blazing for the Caulfield Stakes, and he hasn't put a foot wrong. He's galloped twice since then and pulled up terrifically well. So James and the team are happy there.
Hey, he looks like a beast to ride. What's his attitude? Is he a quiet colt, or does he get a little bit on the toe a bit?
Oh, he's a weapon. He's absolutely unbelievable. As soon as you hop on him, he just floats straight to the start. He's incredible, but he obviously knows he's a lad in the parade ring. He knows he's very good. He struts around. He's got the most incredible walk and amazing overreach. But when he gallops in full flight, he's so smooth. It's incredible how smooth he is, and he only does what he has to in his races as he's got older. But I still believe he's still the benchmark at this point of time. Obviously, we had the Sandown race on the weekend, and all those big guns clashed there, and obviously it didn't really tell us much except put a bit more fogginess into the Cox Plate. But he's the only one that hasn't clashed with all those horses, and I think he will clash with them on Saturday weekend at Caulfield in the Caulfield Stakes. So we'll get a really good line on there, and if he wins that, well, we're cooking with gas.
Hey, and obviously with Alligator Blood in the race, there's going to be a true tempo, so I know you had to sit outside the leader last start, but he looks like he's going to be a better chaser as well, isn't he?
Yeah, for sure. 2-3 pairs back is probably his sweet spot, and he really excels from those spots, but we just haven't had these weight for age races have been small and just had no tempo in them, and so at least he's adaptable, and as you know, it's a big asset to be when you're obviously in those weight for age races, whether the speed's on or off, you can do whatever you like.
Well, thanks very much for your time, James, and wish you all the best on Saturday. Hopefully you can pick up not just one Group 1, but a couple here for the Kiwis.
That'd be nice. Cheers, guys.
But it is Street Kid with 150 to go. A couple in front from Mrs. Lawrence, who's getting out and having a bit of a dip late, but Street Kid's in front. Mrs. Lawrence tries hard, but all the way. Favourite home, Tina Komanyagi. It's Street Kid to win the first.
Mataderos at the 100 metres. He's 3 to 4 lengths in front of Oscar Bonavina. He's going back to back, and Mataderos won it. Mataderos by 4.
Denby Road ranged up on the outside here, and he's got the lead, the big guy, the one that they've backed like there's no tomorrow. Denby Road in front at the 100 metres mark, and the big fella opens up. Look at him, pick him up and put him down. Denby Road is easy as you like.
It's time for the best bets of the weekend. The weather's getting warmer and we're warming up as well. I've got a good feeling this week. So, Leith, where are you going?
I'm not going to be very brave here, but I'm going to go back to Hawke's Bay, the Group 1 Arrowfield Stud Plate, Le Creek.
I'm loving one in the first on the program at the Bay on Saturday called Charm Star. She's a quality mare by Perrin Kento. I really loved her fresh up run. You see her back in the field. This is her fresh up effort over the 1,600 metres. Look, I'm taking a chance she's going to handle the track conditions. It is the first race on the day, so I think she'll be able to get away with this, and I think the price has already gone. I think they opened 6. It might be 4.8 now with the bookmakers already. And I really like her as an each-way play in the Livermore. She's $16 in the Livermore at the moment. I think she'll start $8 going into that feature race on Saturday. So she's got the 57.5 against River Run. Cedars, who was good in the Interprovincial. Firesight, good day number 1. But I think she's a really nice staying mare.
I'm going to step on your toes a little bit. Bevan, I'm going to get into your territory and go to Woodville on Sunday for my best of the week, and that is Brucey, a horse who, when we last saw in a jumping roll, was successful at Wanganui, did it really nicely. Last time out on the flat, ran a terrific race for second. Now goes to a maiden steeplechase. Best bet in a maiden steeplechase, no problems. We've got Raymond Connors and Sean Fannin combining about one who really should be winning the 7th.
Sticking with the Central Districts as well for the Greyhound meeting out of Palmerston North on Friday. Just a small little meeting, but some nice greyhounds, including this one here, a Highview Jess. She's got all the speed in the world. I think she'll be leading this race. And if she does, it'll be a fact of catch me if she can. She gets picked up by a nice greyhound here, Allegro Peaches, but she's headed to open class. I think Jess will be making her way straight back there. It's only a second run back in Class 4 company, and just the greyhounds drawn around her, even though she's got a scouter to her inside, 99.9% of the time she beats them out. So I'm backing her to do that and backing her to win on Friday in race number 2 for my best bet of the week. Justin Evans, he's with the greyhound as well. Amiri Luck, meeting code 11, race 6. The Wales with Muscle Mountain, meeting code 8, race number 7. Note them down, pause the My Sky, and hopefully we've found you a winner or two for the form this week. That's all the time we've got. You've been watching The Form. Once again, thanks very much to Leith, Bevan and Aidan. Hopefully we've found you a winner or two. You've been watching The Form.